Broad-based black economic empowerment is an important and strategic part of government's efforts in transforming the economy. By now, it should be obvious to everyone that any nation that has gone through our type of colonization would have to put in place systematic instruments to bring the majority of the population into the mainstream of the economy, from which they have been barred with some serious barriers over many years. Over the past 20 years, if we look at the performance of BEE, or broad-based black economic empowerment, you would find a lot of people, especially in the majority, who are very unhappy about the progress we have made. And of course, you'll find others who think, yes, you haven't really achieved what you needed, but you have not done so bad, so pat yourself the back and move on with it. But the reality is that we have not made much progress at all. We have had a lot of our focus focused on ownership, and in particular, what happens on the JSE. And you all know the debate that in as far as black people having a stake, direct stake on the JSE, we've practically done nothing. The indirect stake means nothing because none of us can control that. Some other entities, agencies are in charge of that element. So if you look back, in as far as ownership is concerned, we have really made little progress. But even so, on the other elements of the scorecard, we have not really made much movement on skills development in the country. We have not really made much impact on socio-economic development. Employment equity, not really. So we had to take stock and say, how do we move from here to the future? And that required a revision. So primarily the revision is because, on the one hand, substantially, we have had negligible progress, but also in terms of the rate of transformation, it's even been slower. So we can make the argument that on all fronts, no movement. There's a question that we had to also address that says, now we are having a greater emphasis on ownership. In fact, we do not have a bigger emphasis on ownership. Yes, we've increased the points on ownership, but that's not our biggest emphasis. What you would see and understand with BBBEE going forward is that we want to have a bigger impact in the productive sector of the economy. So we want to have more progress in generating a bigger pool of black entrepreneurs and black enterprises. So the issue is not that black people should own white people's firms. It's not an issue for us anymore. Of course, we are not saying that stops. If black people are interested in buying into white companies, that's fine. There are avenues for that, and we will still support that. But our biggest emphasis is in generating a new pool of entrepreneurs and industrialists in the productive sector across all value chains. So that's where we would want to see movement. So the question that we are emphasizing more ownership is really not a correct one. What we are emphasizing is impact in the productive sector. So in that regard, we want to see how enterprise development is done. We want to see support for how black firms and entrepreneurs enter your value chains, and not just your support chains, but your core value chains. We would want to see greater impact on how we develop human capital in this country, including and especially technical training. And therefore, the criticism that the greater focus on ownership will impact negatively on small businesses, etc. Someone would argue that that's there, but really that's not our point of emphasis. We are going to spend a lot of our energy on supporting things like your procurement, enterprise development, skills development, socio-economic development. The idea being we bring black people into the productive sectors.